Ya Allah, Subhanallah, Ya Allah, Alhamdulillah, Ya Allah, La ilaha, Allahu Akbar, Ya Allah, Subhanallah, Ya Allah, Alhamdulillah, Ya Allah, La ilaha, Allahu Akbar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. You're welcome to yet another edition of Today's Woman, the African Pride. Today we're going to talk about something really interesting. It's a very simple topic to many, but we will have different, perspectives and different sides to it. Joining me and discussing for this topic is Mrs. Zainab Asantewaa Deborah. You're welcome to the show. This is the first time Mrs. Zainab is appearing on Today's Woman, so I'm really excited about her views on education. So that is a topic for today, education. Mrs. Zainab Asantewaa Deborah is a Lajna Imaila Zonal Secretary. For those of you who do not know what Lajna Imaila is, it is the women's wing organization of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission. You're welcome once again to the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to be talking about education like I mentioned earlier. What does education mean to us in this century, considering recent, developments?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Well, education in these recent times, looking at the recent developments, especially with the outbreak of this deadly pandemic, COVID-19, education has got to take a different dimension altogether.
Right.
We've got to be dynamic, both the informal way and the formal way. You see, gone were the days whereby education is or was centered only in the classroom, but now it has gone, to different angles.
Yeah.
We now have education on, our social media handles like the YouTube, the Zoom, and other stuff. So education here has become more necessary because we just need to get the world or people to get to know more about this pandemic.
Right. It isn't for the best, but the pandemic has shown that life can go on without the traditional, ways, even though they are important. And, the classroom is important because there are so many things you learn. But then it has shown that, if you have to compromise, you can do it, at the comfort of your home.
Yeah, with or without being meeting the person face to face. Anywhere you are, just at your own convenience, education can still take place.
That's right. Okay, so thank you so much for that, because it's everybody, I'm sure people would wonder why we're talking about education, but there's a new light to it that a lot of people haven't, considered. So thank you very much for that. What type of education does one need in these times,
These times, I think we need a blend of both.
Right.
You can't go without the other. You can't go for formal education, leaving informal behind, and you can't go for informal, leaving formal also behind.
Right.
You have to blend both of them. Because if we are still using this COVID pandemic as an example, whereby there were lockdowns in some countries, whereby there was no face-to-face interaction in classes anymore. So many companies laid off workers, and you had to switch from the formal way to the informal way. Now you have to go back to learn petty trades, just to fetch you some income.
Yeah.
So if you had relied on only the formal way, you wouldn't be found wanting. So these times we just have to blend both together.
Right. Yeah. I like that, even in the first, definition of what education means nowadays, you make mention of it being dynamic. So you should be able to, maneuver through no matter what life throws at you.
Yeah.
I think that's the essence of education.
Sure.
It's supposed to be a tool for life. Thank you so much for that as well. Going on to my next question, do you think that education still favors men more than women? This is a very tough
Education favoring men more than women. Wow. I think that was a stereotype, like I would say.
Right.
Yeah, because it favors who really wants to be favored. I think I should put it that way.
Right.
It doesn't favor men or favor women. If you are willing and prepared to learn something new, education will definitely favor you. So it goes for who really wants to be favored, not being a man or woman. Gender has got nothing to do with
it. So you believe that people should stop hanging. It's in the past where people would hang on to the fact that they are being deprived of the same amount of education a man gets. That's talking about the women.
Yeah,
Okay.
where women are being left in the house saying they are for the kitchen, and then men, no.
We're now all in the field.
We are all in the field.
Okay.
Even the men are even also now in the kitchen looking at some fast food joints. We have men operating fast food joints.
That's correct. That's
Yeah,
correct.
so-
Everybody is getting in, and there are a lot of. There's been a hike in the numbers in the male nurses nowadays.
Very good.
Nobody is shying away from male-dominated jobs or female-dominated jobs. I agree with
it's
you.
now equal.
Okay, I agree with you. Now, we're speaking about education in general. We're just speaking about just anybody or everybody. We're talking about the classroom, the home, the internet, and how much variety has provided us with in terms of, education and learning a trade or a skill. As a parent, okay, because, it comes with it. As a parent, how often should you, go to school, or go to the place of learning of your child? Because let us not skew it just to like the traditional school. We also have Arabic school. We've got, people take their kids to different kinds of, centers to learn. How often should a parent, after paying school fees, I believe that after you pay your school fees, you go and sleep. Somebody's taking care of your work for you. Well, how often should a parent visit the school and check in on their ward and know the quality of education the teachers are imparting on their kids?
All right, thank you. You see, you taking your ward to school and paying fees doesn't end there.
Right.
You should make sure that the money you are investing is yielding some positive fruits. You don't just take your word to school and then leave the child there because you have just paid. Then recently, we see mothers or parents sending their younger children, some are as young as 3 months, 6 months, just because they just want to be relieved of some stress or they want to have time for work. And they send these young babies, 3 months, 6 months, and then just go and leave them there. When they close, and then they just go and pick them up.
Right.
They don't even check on them. They don't even find out how the words are doing in school. Those who can read and write.
Right.
You don't just pay school fees and then, just make sure that the money I'm paying, I'm investing is yielding interest. So at least if per our busy schedule, everybody is busy. At least if we have three months in a term or 4 months in a semester, so even if once or twice you can pass by the school, check up on your ward, talk to the teacher or the principal about your child, how he or she is faring, and what you as a parent can also do to help him or her in the house.
I like that you made mention of, meeting the teachers, because I feel like there are a lot of people, myself and you, we've gone through school, and the whole time we're very positive that we never met certain parents of certain, kids in school. Some parents never have met, their awards teacher ever. And I believe it's interesting. It's important,
Yeah, some of the children even have 2 different behaviors. They have behaviors they exhibit at home, and that the ones they also exhibit at school.
That's
so
correct.
Even if the parent goes to the school, this my ward, he or she doesn't like, if you send a new complaint to the teacher will be like, really, is he or she like that?
Right. They're working with 2 different people.
You get it.
Right.
And when a child comes home, the child has a different behavior. So when the teacher also complains about the child to the parents also be surprised, like, my word is not like that.
Right.
So even the children are even stubborn.
Right. Yeah. So it's very important to know the kind of child you're raising, because children, I'd like to add to this, because children, when we're growing up, we spent a great amount of time in the classroom, and also, and probably a little more at home. But then, to an extent, the teachers played a big role in our lives. We still remember our teachers and all of that. So, you could lead a whole different life in school. You need to know the kind of teacher and the kind of, qualities your teacher is putting on your child, because maybe you may not agree to certain beliefs. So you need to be able to speak to your teachers. And I really like, that point. So leading to my next question, aside, visiting the school, knowing what is happening with your child, in the classroom, how much can you assist your child at home your ward at home, or do we just leave it all to, the school to take care of their education?
No, the school can't do it all.
Right.
Even though they spend most of the time, they spend most of the time in the house than in the school, because they spend approximately 8 hours.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah.
8 hours. Yeah, out of 24 hours, if they are spending 8 hours in school, then it means they are spending more time at home than in school.
Right.
But it's just that when they come back home, they are tired, they just eat, play, sleep.
Yeah, so essentially they spend more of their active time in school.
In school, yes.
Right.
So when they get home, the parents have also got their role to play. That is where they also have to give them the home ethics, so that the children, the child wouldn't be found wanting when the child goes out. That is where the informal education comes in. You should learn how to keep the home, tidy up the home, manners, a whole lot that you have to learn from how cooking, petty crafts, even how to, create or make things with their own hands. They can do things with their own hands and even make money out of it. They can even also watch our Crafts Corner program on MTA.
Yes.
International MTA Ghana. Yes. And
we'll
also
just give a shout out to Crafts Corner. So Crafts Corner, the host of Crafts Corner, if you're watching this on your show, you have to refer your viewers to us so that they can also come and watch Today's Woman.
Yeah, they can watch Crafts Corner so that they can learn how to create things on their own and make income from it. Yeah. That will help them so that when the formal, you see, sometimes there are people who even go to the formal education and then put that aside, and then they take the informal way.
Yeah, you mean like later in life?
Later in life, they will have nothing to do with their PhDs in whatever, or their masters, and you see them being designers, hairdressers, running fast food joints, restaurants. Those were things they learned from the homes and from the internet and from videos. Right.
So if you believe that people should invest in, informal, the creative, side of, education.
Of education too. Yeah. Not only the formal way.
Right. Okay. So do you think that online education should be stable? Because like you mentioned earlier, the onset of the pandemic introduced a lot of, online education, online, work. People were working from home. Everybody had to, sit behind, their laptops and be dressed upwards formal and then downwards,
some will even be lying down and then,
it was a whole interesting experience. But do you think that, I don't know when the pandemic is going to be over, or if it's ever going to be over. Hopefully it is. But, do you think that it's a culture that people should take up? It's something that people should pick up moving forward to, continue to be leaning towards the online? Do you think it holds water with us?
Sure. We have to clinch to the online, but we are not supposed to also go without the face-to-face education also. You see, the face-to-face also sometimes puts us on our toes. Just as you were talking about dressing. With online, the person will just be in,
a shirt and a tie, and then downwards it's a whole different story.
Yeah. So assuming it was face to face, the person cannot go to lectures or go to class with that kind of dressing. So the person then learn, if it were to be face to face, the person would then learn how to dress properly. You understand? With our children, there used to be this inspection of fingernails, how to dress code. You inspect your shoes, your socks, your teeth. Yeah. Good, very good. So all these with a face-to-face, it helps them. But then with the online, the person is relaxed somewhere in the one corner of the house, and this dressing and other stuff doesn't really matter.
Do you think online education should be a stable means, of getting or acquiring information, going forward?
Sure. Since we are blending both formal and informal education, we have to also clinch to the online. And then we include the face-to-face.
Right.
Now, we didn't realize how important online education could be until this recent pandemic.
That's true. That's true.
I hardly find people learning online until these recent times, where we have so many schools have had lectures online.
That's true.
Some even wrote their exams online.
Yeah.
And even admission now, everything is on. It's almost everything is online
Right.
due to this outbreak. So you can see that this outbreak has really brought out some positive sides of, learning online. The online has become very useful during this, recent times, because, those using the online to study now, are exposed to varieties of learning materials.
Yeah.
They visit so many sites for their research and other stuff, but that shouldn't make us also forget what our traditional way, where learning in the classroom,
Right.
whereby this discipline is what's inculcated into the children.
That's true.
Whereby those days, we have this inspection of uniforms, shoes, socks, teeth, nails.
Right.
They even give awards sometimes
Yes.
to the best dressed students,
Yes.
well-behaved students. Yeah. So
Yeah, mentioning awards actually, reminded me of a good point of competition. But when you're in a classroom, it breeds, competition, because you're familiar with the people that are in your class. So, online they'll show you positions, like at the end of your exam. But in class, you feel more. You
just
I need
feel
to
the
beat this
classroom
person.
environment.
I need
Yes.
to get this marked in and suppress this person. So I think that the traditional classroom or the traditional school, it comes with its own very important benefits. That's very important. And also, kids do learn from their other their
From
colleagues.
their colleagues,
So
yeah.
that too is really good. So let's go back to the talk of soft skill. Well, not soft skills, but vocational skills. You made mention of people opening businesses after being laid off during the
Pandemic.
in this pandemic. It's not over.
It's not over.
Right.
Yeah.
How important are vocational skills in the scene of education nowadays?
Well, these recent times, it has become very necessary, very important, because it has become a source of income for most people.
Right.
Those who learned a lot of things from YouTube or other, social media and also other platforms or other sites are making money out of it.
Yeah.
This COVID gave a lot of employment to those people.
Right.
Because they made their own sanitizers, liquid soaps, nose masks. We were not sewing nose masks, but Ghanaians are now sewing nose masks.
Yeah.
And they made a lot of money from
That's
that.
true.
So this our vocational training has become, I think this is the time that we've really realized how important vocational training is. Unlike we thought some time ago, we thought, it was all about go to school and be a lawyer, go to school and be a doctor, go to school and be a teacher. Even if you try doing something with your hand, then they'll be like, you just have to just go to school. Everything was like, go to school, go to school, go to school.
Right.
But then this recent times, it's not about school.
That's true.
Schools have been shut down and people are in the house. Workers have been laid off. Now, they are not earning from what they learned from school. It is what they are doing with their hands.
You remember before we came on set, we were having a discussion about this, and we made mention of cooking, catering, right?
Yeah.
And in this pandemic, a lot of health personnel, they burn both sides of the candle. They're always at work and all of that. So people like that, people in this scene that are always overworking, they do not have time to come home and do maybe their laundry or cook or other house chores. So if you're a caterer, this is booming business for
Good,
you.
very
You know,
good.
and you don't necessarily have to have a venue or like a restaurant, but you can cook from home.
You
and
just need
supply.
to advertise yourself and sell yourself well. Make sure the food you are making is hygienic.
And this is where online comes in. So if you haven't watched our episode, we had a discussion on businesses and how, you know, the internet can help you promote your businesses. So please, if you are not following Today's Woman, you're missing out to free information. Anyway, but sorry to cut you. You can continue.
Yeah, it depends on how you advertise yourself, how you package yourself, how you
Right.
brand yourself,
Right.
and then it's you are in for
Right.
for some good cash.
Yeah, some cool cash. So please, before we wrap up, unfortunately, we've come to the end of this show. I wish I had, you know, more questions to ask you because we've had, you know, a very interesting time on this, you know, side of education that's not too many people like to talk about, throw light on. What advice do you have for my, you know, my listeners, you know, watching us?
Well, anybody listening and watching to us today, I will encourage or I will plead with a person to always try to learn something new each day.
Right,
Education has no end. Anything, just learn.
right.
It might be useful to you someday.
Right. So my guest says that education has no end. You can learn anything each day, and with, you know, YouTube, where you can watch Today's Woman and other MTA shows on YouTube, you can find so many material. You can find material, DIY material, do-yourself material. You can find, you know, tips from Craft Corner. I've mentioned Craft Corner again. You can find, you know, information on actual technical skills. So you can get information on law if that is where your interest in is. You can find information on mathematics. You know, for the kids out there, you find stories, you find, you know, pictorial stories online. There's a wide range. There's a whole world of information out there. So like my guest rightfully said, you should learn something new every day because, you know, education doesn't end. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that acquisition of knowledge is obligatory upon every human, male or female. This very wise man also says that you should go as far as China to acquire information, and that is a very, you know, important thing. So you have to go the extra length and educate yourself on anything and everything. And this isn't limited to only women. I'm sure the men also watch Today's Woman. Please learn some catering. Learn how to do cakes more and surprise your family and your kids. It's very important because cooking is not just a woman's job. It's a life skill. It's an essential life skill. Today I've been talking to Mrs. Zainab Asantua Deborah, who is the Lajna Imaila Zonal Secretary, and we've been talking about education in recent times. This has been Today's Woman, the African Pride. My name is Hiba. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
There is no God beside him, the knower of the unseen and the seen. He is the gracious and the merciful God. Oh Allah, you are most great. He is Allah and there is no God beside him, the knower of the unseen and the seen. He is the gracious and the merciful God. Oh Allah, you are most great. Oh Allah, you are holy. Oh Allah, we praise you. Oh Allah, there is no God, you are most great. Oh